Today we are going to stamp on fabric using found objects, or objects just around the house. This first stamp is made with the tops of medicine containers. You can use any top, but I used it from some of our prescription drugs. You add these tops to a substrate. Now I used it with this plexiglass. I just happen to have it around, but you could use it with cardboard, and then I just glued it with my glue gun, and it makes a really nice stamp. You can use just 3, you can use different sizes, make a larger one, whatever, but it makes a nice stamp. The second stamp, this is some cardboard that you get sometimes that stuff's wrapped in shipping, and it could be used stamped just like that, but I thought it needed to be a little bit more stable, so I glued it to the back of a piece of cardboard. So now you have a really big stamp, and it doesn't have to be, you could cut it up and make it smaller, but it makes a nice size stamp. This is the inside of, it's really the core of paper towels and other kind of paper goods, but it's great to use as a stamp to make a nice circle. This one you probably might not have around the house. I found this at a thrift store, and this was part of a kid's play set, and it's just a really soft, spongy circle. It makes a really nice mark, but there are a lot of things that you could substitute for that. And lastly, there's more cardboard packing material, and this had a really neat design, but it's way too big, so I ended up cutting it and just the right size to hold in my hand, and so it prints a kind of interesting pattern, which I'll show you later. So anyway, these are the tools that we're going to play with in this session, and I'll see you back in just a minute. Okay, let's get started. I've got my fabric there with a mat, and it's like a rubber stamping mat. You need something soft so that it can stamp. You can get a good stamp. Then I also have my gelatin plate that you can use as a stamp pad. You can also use a paper plate. There are a lot of different things you can use, but the gel plate works really great. I'm using fabric paint and my brayer, and let's get started on printing here. I like to brayer over the plates so we have real good coverage, or enough for the stamp. Then I'm taking the first stamp and just pressing it down, just using it like a regular rubber stamp or any kind of stamp, making sure you're getting some good amount of paint, giving a little bit of pressure there. And it's funny because you could see the little notch there, which is on the bottle cap. So it's a circle, but it's got a little notch too. And again, I'm just showing you how to use this to print. You can print it any way you want, and we'll just continue printing here. Speed this up a little bit so you don't have to watch everything I'm doing here. You can make this as simple or complex as you want. And this is just kind of giving you an idea of how this stamp works on fabric. Of course, these stamps also work on paper if you like to work on paper. Okay, so we've finished that one. We're going to move over to the next one. I got a little bit of paint on that stamping pad, so I needed to wipe that off. So I'm going to set that aside, get a new piece of fabric. I like to smooth it out. And this is the core to the paper towel. And I love these circles. These are just so much fun, so easy. You really get a good mark. I like to go back and forth so I have a pretty much nice amount of paint on it, but you can, stamp it several times. It'll just be a different look. So this way I get a nice image. And again, this is like the other one. You just stamp as however you want to. It just kind of shows you what it looks like. This one I've used for other things, like soy wax. It's fun to use in soy wax, but it works great with this fabric paint. I'm going to go back to the original one here and put a couple more circles on this fabric just to kind of give you a couple ideas of things to do. It's really fun just playing, and the more you play, the more ideas come, and you learn so much about working with these stamps. See, I'm using that paper towel core to give you a little bit a different idea of using it within the other stamp. So you got circles within circles. And I think I want to bring back, here's that kid's toy, and it makes really interesting mark. If you look closely at that, it's really got a lot of texture, and that makes it really fun. Also, the more paint you have on it, the different, it's darker of course, but you get a different look. Also, when I'm pushing this down, I'm kind of turning it too, so I'm getting more texture than just stamping it like I am right now. But again, this is a fun tool to play with, and you get really interesting results. And this is just to kind of show you, this isn't a masterpiece. But anyway, that kind of shows you how that one works. And I'm back to using paper towel core. I just absolutely love it. Of course, I'm doing a circle around those circles I just did in blue, but you could also do it in other colors just to kind of outline it. So I'm getting my red. I was having trouble getting my red paint to the bottle to open for some reason. But anyway, let's see. Get that on the plate and brayer it and get stamping on it. So I'm just stamping with that red around those circles. You can do it real exact, or you can do it offset like I've done on some of those. So it's just another way of using these tools, and this one in particular. Like I said, this paper towel core is just really one of my favorite tools. It's got two sides, so that's kind of nice too. Get two different paints on it. So anyway, that just shows you that using those tools. And let's go on to the next one. The next one we're going to do is that corrugated cardboard packing material. This one here. And as I said, I cut it to fit my hand, and I'm a little bit out of the picture there, but you'll see it as we go on. I needed a little bit more paint. This makes a a really unusual design, and it's kind of pretty different. You saw how the fabric came up from the plate, and you can pin it down. A lot of people do pin theirs, but I don't. I just deal with it. But you could put pins on each end, and then you wouldn't have it move like that. Now that is okay background. I think it needs some work. We're going to put it this way, sideways, and see how that works. And just adding more and more texture to this fabric. One thing about these found tools, you never know exactly what you're going to get and how they're going to work out, and so you just really have to play with them and see how they work and if you like them or not. This one I thought maybe I just add some of my favorite circles to this, just to show you that you can mix and match all these different tools in your design. So there's that sample of that one, and then we're going to move to the last one. Get everything ready. New piece of fabric, and there's this last tool. Really like when I show you this, I love how these lines, how it creates lines on the fabric, and they're so irregular, which is nice. So you see the lines on it, and I'm going to print again on this, but I'm going to use the red. So I'm going to overprint it with the red, which I think is about out. That's why I'm having so much trouble with it. You kind of have to push harder on this one because of the cardboard to get the paint. And there I have two-toned, and it's really hard to tell because the red with the blue has turned into purple, so it's not such a contrast as if it was just red paint, if we didn't have the blue. Then I like to use this, I was going horizontal, but I like to go vertical on top of this just to kind of show you how that looks. Again, it's just fun to play around with these. Now I got more red on there, and we'll see how this works. I always check and be sure I was going the opposite way. So, I really like that. And I like the unevenness of it too. That just shows that it's made, it's not made commercially, and somebody made it by hand. And so that's how that one works out. So I've showed you all these different tools, and I'll be back with some final results, and some other ones that I did off camera. Okay, now we're going to the results. This is the fun part, to see how it all came together. These were the first two tools, just on the white background, just blue on the white background. And here is this one here, and this was made with this tool. And they're really nice. They're just basic, and you can go from there.
I use a lot of dyed fabric that I dye myself, and I really don't like white that much, so for these I would probably spray dye them or give them a wash or something. But they are really pretty just the way they are if you like white. But that shows you the technique and how that's done. This is using the toy, and I used 3 different colors, and what I did is I used different pressure to get darker and lighter, and it ended up, I really like how this looked. I could see working more with this tool. But it just shows you that you get so many different looks. And I don't have, wait a minute, here's this one here. Here's all 3 of those circles on some of my dyed fabric. And here you can see the toy is right there. And it just makes such a difference to doing something like this. It just makes it really stand out. And as I said, this is showing the 3 of them on some dyed fabric. Then I don't usually buy commercial fabric since I dye so much. But I love this fabric, and you probably can't tell it since it's got all this stamping on top of it. But I loved it, and I think I loved it because it looked like printed fabric, that hand printed fabric. So I wanted to use it, and use it by printing with this, with lots of circles. So it's just, you could just do all kinds of different things with this. The least favorite of my tools was this, and I tried a lot of different ones, and I really wasn't happy with it. It's okay, and it'll probably be fine when I cut it up, but I just don't really care for this piece. It looks better in the 2 colors than just one. My favorite, besides, I love the circles, but I love this one here. And I will tell you, for this piece, this is my very last piece that I did, and I do like it even though it's white, is I cut it up because I felt like I had a lot more control with it being smaller. And so I really do love this piece. I'm real happy with this. I could just see a wash over this, of course, to get rid of the white, but it's pretty, just blue and white. And here it is on a piece of my dyed fabric. This may be, this is ice dyed fabric. And it's just almost a subtle line, but it just gives you more texture to the piece. Here's that commercial fabric again. And I loved how it worked with this too. Again, I can do it horizontal or vertical, but it's just a beautiful piece. With those extra, the markings just added to the beautiful fabric. Then I did another piece, and this is on some more of my fabric, and I did it cross-hatched, or I did it horizontal and then vertical, or vice versa. And I love how it turned out. We've got the dark way over here, and then we have it real light in different spots, and it just gives it a more handcrafted, not a commercial printed fabric, and I really love that. This last piece could be a wall hanging, which I may make it into that. So I used all of the tools except the one I didn't like. I used the circles and this thing, cardboard, and I love how it turned out, and it's on some of my ice dyed fabric. But again, look around the house, and anything you might be recycling or throwing away could turn out to be a good tool for printing. And again, like I said, you could print on paper if you want, but I'm a fabric person, so I love printing on fabric. But anyway, thank you so much for dropping by and watching my video. You could go to see the full tutorial on my website. It's lindahines.blog, but I'll have a link there in the information for you to just click on to see my write-up about this. Anyway, thanks again for dropping by. Bye.